Hello, everybody. My name is Bahi Vandibo. Thank you very much for joining me today for Nutrition Bites with me. To start off, just a little bit about me. I've been a children's dietitian now for over 13 years. I actually first started training as a children's dietitian in New Zealand at Starship Children's Hospital in Auckland. I have a lot of fond memories there. And then I moved over and spent quite a lot of my time at Great Ormond Street. I've been there for about 10 years, and that's where I've had experience working with children who have problems with their kidneys, metabolic disorders, gastroenterology, food allergy, heart problems, quite a wide variety of topics. So if you do decide to come and book to see me in one of my private London clinics, then you can be sure that I do have experience in a wide range of topics. So thank you for joining me. Today I thought it'd be great to start off with something light, weaning for children, babies. I know some of you have come to see me and you've been feeling quite overwhelmed about weaning, particularly if you are following a vegan or a vegetarian diet. I can appreciate that weaning can be quite daunting in that. So yes, how do you start? That's often the question that you've asked me. How do you start with weaning on a vegan diet? Well, actually, you would start just like any other baby. You'd start with hopefully a savory from vegetables and sweet from fruit. And it's also important then, depending on when you start solids, that you move on to protein foods that are rich in iron. So for example, if you start weaning around 6 months of age, then actually you do want to get in those iron-rich foods quite early, particularly if you have been breastfeeding. And we can talk about iron-rich foods at another session, but for today, focusing on weaning, that's basically what you want to do. And some of you have asked me, well, how much should I be feeding my baby? And actually, many of you forget that weaning is just about introducing textures and flavors. So rather than focusing on the amount of food that your baby should be eating, it's actually all about encouraging them to try a wide variety of flavors. So even if your baby just tried a small, a tiny spoonful, a tip of the spoon, that's fantastic. And it, of course, all depends on when you start with weaning. So if you start around 4 months of age, baby's really only just going to have tiny tastes, and that's fantastic. You might invite baby to join weaning when the family sits down to have a meal. So then that's really nice, particularly when they get closer to around that 6 months mark, so that they can start to see what happens at meal times. They might want to, by then, they might like to try and grab foods from the table, or they might grab a piece of bread off you. And try not to panic. That's all part of the weaning process. Go with it. So if you are joining in now, we're just chatting about weaning and what sort of things we would start, particularly if you are weaning on a vegan or vegetarian diet. So one of the other things that families have asked me is it true that if I'm breastfeeding, baby can survive on breast milk for the first year of life? Well, actually, that's an interesting question. And although we are focusing on offering just taste of food during the weaning process, we do really want baby to be exposed to a wide variety of food, but also introducing meals so that baby knows that actually we're going to be eating solid food and then gradually weaning from the breast, or gradually reducing the amount of formula that's needed. So I hope that makes sense about that, because if you think about it, initially, baby has had a liquid diet for the first 4 to 6 months of age. So introducing solids is actually a bit of a shock. They might think, oh, what's this? This is a bit strange. Or if it's sweet, they might think, that's quite nice, but it feels a little bit strange. Or if it's savory, oh, that's interesting. So it's all about encouraging children and babies to experiment, be open to trying new flavors, new textures, and then gradually giving them the confidence to build on the amounts of food that they're eating. So you might first start with a couple of spoonfuls or a few tastes at breakfast, if that's the best time of the day. And then you might think, oh, actually, we've introduced a few different flavors during the week, and this is going really well. I'm going to start introducing a second meal in the day. Great. And if you're really going for it, maybe by week 3 and 4, you might think, I'm going to introduce a third meal, and baby's going to join us for evening meal. And that's absolutely fine. And even if baby just has, a couple of tastes, or if they've got a cold, like we do in our house, and they might not be so interested for a few days, that's fine too. Take a break. And then once baby is well, get back to introducing different flavors and food throughout the week. So you're starting with vegetables, you're introducing fruit, then you're thinking of iron-rich foods. You might try some pulses, lentils. You might offer them individually at first, and then you could add them with sweet potato, which is a nice vitamin A-rich food, important for that age group. If baby is breastfeeding, then you do want to start from 6 months of age. You do want to start the vitamin A, D, and C drops as well. If baby is having formula, then they're going to get all of that in their formula. So you don't actually need to supplement at that stage. You can wait till baby is 1 year of age. So very important. Do remember your vitamin supplements, vitamin A, D, and C from 6 months of age, but particularly vitamin D. That's really, really important. And certainly when you're moving in with iron-rich foods, don't worry if it takes baby a little bit of time to adjust to these new flavors. And the amount really isn't important. So that's something that I really want to stress today. Some of you who have come to see me have been worried about the amount that baby eats. So let baby guide you. Enjoy the weaning process. Gradually introduce one new thing every day. And if baby enjoys it, then build on that. So for example, if you try oats as one of the first foods after a couple of weeks into it, and you know that baby enjoyed fruit like pear and apple, then you can actually cook the oats and then add the apple and pear into the porridge to make sort of like a nice, it's starting to resemble a meal really. You could then start adding in ground flax seeds for essential fatty acids. You can do ground chia seeds. You could even introduce some ground nuts. Now, don't worry, be worried about food allergy. You can actually start introducing some of these allergenic foods as early as weaning. And there's research to show that when you do that, it actually does reduce baby's likelihood of having food allergies a little bit further down the line. So in summary, you want to start weaning anywhere between 4 and 6 months of age. This is such a personal decision. So you choose when you think baby is ready and when you want to. But if you start at 6 months of age, you could, or even 4 months of age, introducing one new thing every day. You start with vegetables, moving on to fruit, or you could mix it up a bit if you like. Then you're thinking about, especially around that 6 months age, you want to think about your iron-rich foods. And on a vegan and vegetarian diet, you're thinking lentils, pulses, your leafy greens. You also want to think about introducing your essential fats. So you could add in your ground flax seeds, chia. You could even use walnuts, which are fantastic, but that could be in the form of a walnut oil. It could be literally a drop. You could use it to cook some of the veggies, or you could, use ground nuts. Why not? Ground walnuts into the porridge for breakfast, for example. So let's wrap up there. Thank you so much for joining me. Obviously, please do, in the comments box, do let me know suggestions for topics for next week. I'll be here every Tuesdays at 2 o'clock for Nutrition Bites with Bahi Vanderbilt. Thanks very much, guys. See you next week. Bye-bye.